The question is simple. Have any of the systems on my network been compromised? The answer is harder than it should be. Enter AI Hunter. Active Countermeasures has automated and streamlined techniques used by the best pen testers and threat hunters in the industry to create AI Hunter, a network threat hunting solution that does the first pass of a hunt for you to identify systems that are most likely to be compromised and scores the results on a scale from 0 to 100. You can then research those systems in depth with AI Hunter. Focus your valuable time on the systems that need your expertise with AI Hunter. Sign up for a personal demo today at securityweekly.com/ACM.
Welcome back to Security and Compliance Weekly, episode 26. We've been talking to Joe Brinkley, aka the Blind Hacker, about his background experience and particularly being visually impaired, how that's started out as a challenge in getting him into the cybersecurity field, but somewhere along the line he was able to overcome and adapt and improvise, and here he is today. Before we jump back into the discussion, do have a couple more announcements real quick. Join us at InfoSec World 2020. It is now scheduled for June 22nd through 24th, and it's going to be at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort. Security Weekly listeners can save 15% off the InfoSec World Main Conference or World Pass. To get the discount, visit securityweekly.com/ISW 2020. Click the registration button to register and get our discount code, or you can also click the scheduling button if you would like to sign up for a sponsor micro interview. Also, we are looking for guest suggestions from you, our listening audience, in particular for Enterprise Security Weekly. We're trying to fill out our schedule for the next quarter and beyond, to infinity and beyond. We're committed to educating and providing entertainment for the InfoSec community, but we want to hear from you about who you would like us to interview on the show. Submit your suggestions for Enterprise Security Weekly or any show really by going to securityweekly.com/guests and filling out the form. On the form, you can suggest which show you think the person that you're suggesting is best suited for. We take a look at that, review it on a monthly basis, and we'll get back to you if we think we're going to move forward. Anyway, let's get back to the interview with Joe. Scott, I think you had a question you wanted to ask Joe.
I do. Joe, thank you for joining us, by the way. It is really greatly appreciated that you be able to take some time out of your busy schedule and talk with us. So in the first segment, it was really getting to know you. In the second segment here, I really want us to dive into the Blind Hacker and giving back and mentoring and how you're doing this, right? And the first question that I have right off the bat is, what's been your biggest challenge with trying to not only help people, but understand the deficiencies and where to look and what to look for, right? If you could give advice on what drove you through that for a result, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. So again, it all really goes back to my own history, being told that I'd never make it, being told these things, kind of facing the adversity that I saw myself in, coming up the way that I did in the industry. I really didn't have a individual or subset of mentors. The way I tell people to do it now is hey, yes, absolutely, come to me, ask me to be your mentor, or just learn from me, period. But ultimately the biggest challenge is kind of getting in touch with those people that have a disability. A lot of people find me because somebody else in my organization or group, the community I run, Dead Pixel Security, has tagged me in a post, seen a post because somebody retweeted of a retweet of a retweet, and they go to the original post, they go to the retweet, and they say, at the Blind Hacker. And that's when I usually take action, and I try to go, what deficiency are they seeing? And I try to ask them almost the same question, like, where are you having your difficulty? Again, having 15 years easy in the industry now, I've seen tools come and go. I've seen scripts come and go. And some of the deficiencies that I see, when I see that, I either try to fix them or find workarounds. And so when I get these other folks going, this is the thing that I'm having an issue with, I go, have you tried this? back to the example of the professor who said, "Oh, I don't know that, so I can't grade it on that." Well, that's the tool. It does the job. Why, firstly, why don't you know that? But going on, just for myself, getting the people to the place where I can find them and educate them and just have the ability to reach and understand their needs. As Josh was saying, the biggest thing is everybody's needs are individualized, including my own. And I can only speak to my own, but again, because I do improvise, adapt, I try to go, let me consider it from their perspective. Here's the thing they're looking at for the very first time. What does it look like to someone who doesn't know? Close your eyes, try to use the software you're using. You can't? Well, neither can they. All right, now let's add a voiceover. Can I close my eyes and listen to the software? No, it's not compatible. Yes, it works. It turns into one of those flow charts. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And eventually I try to come up with a solution either best suited for them, or I tell them honestly, I don't know. But what I can do is having the reach that I do have as the blind hacker, the reach that I do have as a professional in this industry for a while, is I can reach out and go, does anybody know how to make this? Please raise your hand. And when that first person raises their hand, go, hey, you're going to help me develop a product. You're going to help me do this. You're going to help me do that. And I've done that a few times in the past to really help individuals with those individually suited needs.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How often do you see mentors in the world of hackerdom, security, IT, anything, taking advantage of the possibility, or mentees rather, taking advantage of the available mentorship programs, and how easy is it for them to find them? A little off topic.
It is very on topic to me as the blind hacker, being the mentor, being the community owner and runner.
So yeah.
So the relevancy there, it's really interesting. I get this occasionally. I get these notes. Hey, you're the only person I've seen that can mentor. You're the only person I've seen that can do this or that. But I need people closer. So I'm like, hey, have you looked at hacker groups local to you? Have you looked at these things? That's not just for, by the way, people with the disabilities. That's for anybody. So seems to be a difficult position to be in, to say, hey, you knock, I answer the door. You say, I want to mentor. I say, come on in. That's the way that the entire community behind the Blind Hacker and Dead Pixel Security work. Everybody's always welcome. Everybody always comes in. Disability, no disability. You just started college yesterday. You're still in high school. Versus, hey, I've been in the industry for 25 years, 40 years. Or I haven't been in the industry for 25, 40 years. And I'm an old dog and I want to learn new tricks. And everybody comes in and I say, welcome. And then it just slowly is spreading. The community is growing. Things are getting bigger. Other sub-communities have developed out of it. Other defense-focused communities, even out of my blind hacker, offensive-focused communities out of Dead Pixel. So there's been this huge growth there. But ultimately, I still see people going, how do I start? How do I learn? And you see some people do the best to give that generic advice, the general advice. And again, even individuals without disabilities, people still learn differently, tailor very differently. So my mentoring approach is I come at people and go, how do you best learn? If I send you this article, are you going to be able to grasp it? If I send you this video, is this what you can grasp? When I learn that about people, I start to get into the point where, Josh and Scott know if they've spent enough time around me at cons. I'm a very vivid visual storyteller. I tell the story about a house. How do you pen test? Well, you test the house. You walk up, you touch a window. All right, it's open. You open the window. Okay, well, now vulnerability assessment has taken place. There's a vulnerability. Is there an exploit? Can I actually get it? Being very vivid and visual and storytelling that way. So I try to take that same approach to mentoring. Do you need visuals? Do you need storytelling? Do you need me to type this up and give you infographics? How are you best going to learn? And ultimately, the large number of people out there still seeking mentors is huge. It's astronomical. I wish I could literally just say cybersecurity mentor, big old sign, instead of eat at Joe's, learn at Joe's, and just have carry around a giant neon sign that says that, but that's rather costly and rather bulky for me to carry around at all times.
You mean you don't stand on a street corner spinning one of those big signs? Learn at Joe's?
I haven't yet, but at some point, during this pandemic, I might have to take to that. I'll probably be asked to go back home and safely distance myself. But at least if I can get one or two people to at least call me, email me, Twitter is the best way to get a hold of me. You guys have my Twitter on the show notes, I'm sure somewhere over here.
Yep.
But yeah, what's that?
I was gonna say it might even be your has been underneath your face if you've been speaking.
Yeah.
We have the technology.
And it will be when we tweet these two segments out on Twitter later today too. So
so I mean, at @DeadPixelSec is also on there. You could follow that on the Twitter, but honestly, the best thing to do is the best way I found to communicate these days. Because when I started this, the twitching, the mentoring, the video stuff, I started off kind of because I came from I'm a gamer too. I know, visually impaired gamer. A lot of people want to see that too. No, trust me, you don't. I sit way too close to a screen to be comfortable for anybody. All you're going to see is the corner of my eye from the camera's perspective. But there's I started modeling when I built the community and built my Twitch stream and everything from that off of just being raw. So when I Twitch stream, I don't do any prior research on hack the box on a VM that people say, hey, this is brand new. Before I even submit it to you, want to be the first person to stream this? And I go, sure. And then I take it very raw. I don't do any prior research. And to those people who make YouTube videos, I love it. Those are great ways to teach methodologies. But I like doing it raw. I love being the first. This is the first time I've seen this, and I love jumping down the rabbit hole because it shows even as a professional, 15 years, I'm still making those same mistakes. The difference is, I might have caught on quicker or might have moved on a little quicker or maybe even slower. Who knows? There are some really smart people out there. So when you see that, that's why I like doing it. The interviews that I do of literally, I've done resume reviews for people since I am a senior member on my team and a director at my company. I look at resumes and I give everybody the 5-minute resume review. And go, hey, this is what your resume should look like. Get rid of these things. And I do that live online sometimes, or, a lot of people say, hey, I like my information to stay private. So we do it privately. Mentoring people isn't just about, this is a packet, this is a vulnerability, this is the exploit, here's the shell, and this is what you do. It's really, to me, teaching that whole methodology behind everything that I do, including report writing. I've had entire shows on report writing, and I'm going to keep doing them. I'm going to keep getting better at them. Because as things change, as the industry changes, I see that's a need that needs to happen.
You're touching on something I wanted to double back on in terms of the software and the tools that you use to enable you to be able to use the tools. And at the end of the first segment, you talked a little bit about how a lot of it happens at the operating system level. And me being a hacker at heart, I'm thinking, okay, you're a hacker, you like to break things, you like to figure things out. The things that you use to enable you to be able to do this stuff is software. Do you or has anyone looked at the security of the tools themselves that you use to enable you to be able to do your work?
I can tell you factually, no, because a lot of the things like JAWS, it's a screen reader program, the Zoom Text, which is screen zoom and reader program. They kind of both the same company now. Window Blinds, another reader. A lot of those, they actually integrate very deeply into an operating system. They extract, they put DLLs, they put a driver, they put software. It's reading out, it's enhancing the screen. There's no reason that if a hacker spends the time that they should be able to intercept that. I personally haven't, because I don't know what the companies would be able to do. Some of these softwares are very expensive. Some of these softwares are very particular, and from a goal-reaching piece of personal capability, I don't want to be able to restrict people because, hey, all of a sudden, one of these major brands and vendors has a vulnerability exploit into it. We're going to have to take it off of our approved software list, and we're not going to be able to use it. And so there's that. But I'd say that these things do need check. These things do need to undergo security testing. These things should absolutely undergo that. And I can tell you now, I'll just looking into some of the technology and some of the things that I've done with them in the past. The good old Windows XP, Windows, I believe all the way up to Windows 7 Utiliman hack. Pressing Windows key U on your Windows key will bring up Utiliman. Well, replace Windows key U with a rename cmd.execute to utiliman.execute. Or util.execute, and press Windows key U, and you'll have a command prompt. If you set that up outside the operating system, boom, you've got a shell before you break in. So using autoplay or some scripts, once you get physical access, that's easy peasy. Well, by the way, it's not just physical access anymore. Windows 7, Vista, and 10 now allow you to use screen zooming built in before you log in remotely. So if you're not zoomed in on your main machine, but you need to be zoomed in on the remote machine, you can do that. Well, that means that operating system, that functions outside of user space, which makes it exploitable. So there's a lot of potential there. I've tried not to dig around too much in it, again, for sake of not knocking somebody's software off of a list and making it so they can't perform their job. But
I guess there's a certain amount of you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. It's been hard enough for you to get the kind of software that helps you out. You don't want to blow it up. So maybe it's verboten or just considered uncool to do it. I'm curious. Also, one other question is we sort of touched on it, and at this point I forget whether it was on air or off air, but. Are there things that you feel like you're better at because you're not encumbered with a visual sense that maybe other fully sighted people like the rest of us sometimes, we sort of teased about? I think I asked the question, is there such a thing as a squirrel for you? But not that specifically, but are there things that you think you do better or are better at, or you're less inclined to go down a rabbit hole or get distracted by a squirrel because you have this unique gift, as it were, of not being not having the visual thing to get in the way?
That's a really good question. So I don't know. Yes and no, maybe. That's hard to say because I know a few other fully blind people, but they're like developer level people that are really senior in development. I know, I don't know anybody else that's really visually impaired that's in the hacking industry besides people like, oh, well, I might have like macular degeneration, which is terrible, but that comes so much later on in life. I don't know of anybody who be around my age to be able to really compare to. Now, if I compared myself to other people, some of them certainly faster, some of them certainly slower at doing things, but I'm able to at times, like especially visual things. I did a VM that had a ton of visual stuff on one page. Once you found it, really wasn't able to do it. So what the when I was streaming it, the chat ended up helping me out because they were able to see it and grab the things, but ultimately I kind of wasn't able to do something like that. So that was a deficiency. But as far as a pro, I don't know. I mean, I think I feel like I spend the same amount of time doing that as a lot of other people with my set level might. I don't know. Maybe.
So curiosity question, when you have a browser open, typically how many tabs do you have open?
Oh, geez. That's an embarrassing number. So on
maybe not, because I'm trying to compare it to
anywhere between 87 and 187. Fortunately,
okay,
always doing a lot of research. And recently it's been getting worse because the stay at home, the lockdown stuff, and I've gotten into imagine this, blind guy 3D printing. So I'm not just downloading other people's works, I'm zooming in and making my personal manipulations and modifications to things, and extraordinarily number of more, because I always I'm like, can I do this? And well, it's 3D printing, why can't you? Oh, does the software allow me? And I'll say that that's a really interesting place to be in. Is I think that would be tough for entirely blind people, because unless they could physically get their hands on something to mold and to make, but having limited vision fortunately allows me to kind of play around in that realm. But the cool thing is, once I 3D print it, I have something so tangible. I've 3D printed little hexagonal cats and all the cool stuff you can do, and I'm like, oh, this is neat. And so I've experimented and looked around on the 3D printing on, but there's 3D printed 12-sided or 20-sided die, like cool, like nerdy stuff. So that could eventually maybe end up out there at more conferences as I go around. I've seen other orgs throw down some dies and card games, and I was thinking maybe do the same, but with the Braille and the other things to help the visually impaired. But
that would be cool. Braille 20-sided die. That'd be awesome. Dude.
Yeah,
gotta do it. You got to do that. You know that, right?
Now I just need to buy enough filament the next conference we can actually go to, just to start throwing them on the floor and seeing people die for them.
Okay, I want a Braille dreidel as well.
That could be done. Yeah, I don't see why not.
That's probably out there already, I would think.
Yeah, it is out there actually. If you go into Shapeways and you take a look at what Shapeways has, they do have not only Braille sided dice, which 20, D8, D12, but they also have a Braille sided dreidel. They have a Braille sided D8 die. So there are 3D options out there. Just saying.
That's awesome. It's a dreidel. The Braille dreidels the dreidel.
Oh geez, here we go.
Wheels are coming off.
Oh, that's awesome.
You three.
This has been an interesting discussion. Oh, go ahead, Josh. You have another question?
Let's bring this back. So we've talked about mentorship. We've talked about technical accommodation. We've talked about the interesting parts of the industry in terms of how they've treated you and how you want people to be treated and to treat you and others like yourself. We've talked about quite a few different issues and some solutions as well, which is wonderful, and I love that. And I'd like to sort of summarize, if that's okay. So mentorship is something that you're personally like very fond of and very strong with. And I love it. That's awesome, because I'm the same way. In terms of technical things that can be done, if we can keep APIs open and keep the accessibility to the data so that it can be built into whatever accommodation someone might need, that's what I heard as a good technical accommodation. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. There's no problem. I mean, it's just these aren't problems. These are solutions in need of implementation. Some of them are already implemented. Some of them have yet to be implemented, but there's a lot of solutions out there. We just need to work to implement them for the specific people and issues that they need to be implemented for. What am I missing? What are we missing? What else should we mention?
I'll say again, from my perspective, if you have the ability to help out and mentor and want to mentor, you can either create a community, join up with me. I love I've in the middle of a couple other projects where I'm just trying to partner with as many other mentors that I see in the industry or even outside, just not specifically cyber, but IT or technology period, where I try to team up with them, and we're bringing together, hopefully, maybe not the solution, but the ability for someone to go ask a question and for us to be able to go, well, here's what we think, and these are the things that you could do, and pull people in the direction that we see that they're asking. One of the things about being a mentor, being a leader, is identifying, is this like you said, is this a problem, or is this a solution waiting to be implemented? Is this a issue for the person, and can we solve it for the person, or is this an issue in the industry, and can we solve it for the industry? And that's it's a lot of the approach that I try to take to when mentoring, when doing, again, I've had crap resumes. I've had great resumes myself. So is my one method the best? No, that's why I always say, here's what I'm going to tell you to do. You're going to come to me. I'm going to do a resume review. We're going to do a job interview, and I want you to find somebody else to do it. If they tell you I was wrong, I wouldn't trust that person. But if that person goes, those are good, but here's some additional improvements, that's probably better, because that person might be more experienced in those areas. Bringing in as many people as you can to mentor you, to your communities, to grow things. And ultimately, I say this a lot to my my community is, a lot of people out there go, oh, this is toxic, that sucks. That's great. What are you going to do about it? And that's the way I try to approach the entire community is again, is it a problem or a solution waiting to be implemented? So
Bravo.
when you find them, try to just implement the solution, and say you don't have to say something, but if you're going to say, yeah, that was a problem, but we fixed it.
Sort of along those lines, and to wrap things up, you sort of already half wrapped it up, but to bring it back to sort of the compliance discussion, since we are Security and Compliance Weekly, do you have any parting thoughts or suggestions for what the larger community can do to try to help disabled people get the things that they need, and how to get the software vendors out there, tool vendors, and whomever, I guess, even from a physical standpoint as well, not just software. What can we do as fully abled people, which is questionable at times, do to help out disabled people to raise the awareness and try to help you guys out? Any parting thoughts or calls to action for us from you?
I may have the perfect answer. Maybe we'll see. Let me give you the answer and we'll see.
Okay.
As I said in the beginning, you asked me, where do you stand on security versus compliance? And I said, well, compliance can drive security and security can drive compliance. Well, in this case, for 508 compliance, for ADA compliance, it exists, but nobody follows it. So the thing that we can try to do is, with security and compliance and security, where they enforce each other, let's start to try to enforce these things in our industry. If you see someone struggling due to a potential physical or mental disability or any form of a disability, and they're differently abled, reach out to them and say, what can I do to you to help you make your job better? What can I do to help you make your life better? And without going out of your way and reorganizing your entire life. But if you can do something, try to find what you can do and help out. But ultimately, have the compliance, the need that exists, that solution waiting to be implemented. And again, try to implement it. If it's something as simple as, hey, we develop code, let's leave the API open. Hey, we develop programs, let's make it a little bit more 508 compliant. Hey, we develop we develop chairs. Let's make sure we make a great chair, right? So the ultimate end product should be the consideration of the people around you, and making the small changes and effects where you can. Because it's the whole think locally, which will act globally. So if you can make those small changes and wrap up that these things, by the way, guys, these don't match compliance. People can't use this. People can use it. Where does this lie? And just saying something.
Just a little empathy at the end of the day.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Great. Well, I appreciate that, and hopefully our listening audience heard you, and will keep their eyes and ears and whatever senses open to their own surroundings, and if they see a problem, hopefully they can help out and speak up and do something about it. We'll make sure that we have your links up on our wiki page. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an interesting discussion and very enlightening, and I was going to say eye-opening, but that sounds like it would be inappropriate.
Oh.
Womp womp.
Wow.
Womp womp.
This was people skills at work.
There's no Braille edition for this for these episodes.
Well, maybe we should work on that. All right, guys. As I said, thanks, Joe. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back next week. Take care.